of Earth, good evening. Today is July 8, 2024. Welcome to this Nation News edition 38, where you are presented the developments of the current galactic events that affect the future of Earth as a planetary civilization. In this week's topics, we are having a look at the order from NASA to take down the International Space Station and how this decision is corroborated by events occurring in 2021, when the Galactic Federation of Worlds was involved in the abduction of a Russian personnel of the ISS. Also, Anakh Prince Ea will disclose where the despicable Enlil is currently located. Keep tuned and fasten your seatbelts. On Friday, 28th of June 2024, it was made official that NASA had given Elon Musk's SpaceX permission to destroy the International Space Station, ISS, by 2030. As explained in a Sky News article, SpaceX will build a vehicle to tow the International Space Station back through the atmosphere and crash it into the ocean. NASA says it is transitioning to a commercially owned space destinations closer to home. The space station has been continually occupied since 2000 by astronauts doing more than 3,300 scientific experiments above our heads. Since 1998, the US, Russia, Japan, Europe, and Canada have maintained different sections on the ISS. The agreement to jointly run the space station marked a new era of global cooperation after the Cold War. But when those agreements run out, says NASA, the space station will need to be brought out of orbit, and Elon Musk's SpaceX has been given $843 million contract to do it. The company will build a vehicle to tow the space station through the atmosphere, where it will destructively break up, as a quote, according to NASA. It will then crash into the ocean away from populated areas. Along with the SpaceX vehicle, while SpaceX will develop the deorbit spacecraft, NASA will take ownership after the development and operate it through its mission. But once the ISS is destroyed, low orbit will not be empty. Private companies, including SpaceX, Axiom, Blue Origin, and VAST, are developing commercial space stations that could launch as soon as next year. It is appealing to attention that of what was disclosed. SpaceX and Blue Origin attended the Jupiter meetings in July 2021, where the future of the solar system was discussed and prepared in the aftermath of the war for its liberation. In his June 17, 2024 statement for Nation News 35, Torhan Eredion talked about how the Earth Alliance had infiltrated along the years the main organizations that worked against humanity. Quote, "Our well-thought-out disclosure plan included the infiltration of these major shadow organizations, for they were responsible for the great deception that had hidden the truth from humanity about the agreements made with the Nebu and the Sikar." End of quote. On June 24, 2024, Torhan Eredion developed this point in the disclosure plan. He said, I will tell you what the Earth Alliance is and what its tasks that resume by intervention, infiltration, cooperation. Part of the Earth Alliance mission is to infiltrate shadow organizations in order to beat the enemy at their own game. By now, all shadow organizations on your planet have been infiltrated by the Earth Alliance forces. Due to the level of personal involvement of these secret agents, it is impossible to expose them, says Thorhan. The technology you use for remote viewing does not work either, as these particular agents have holographic protective shields. End of quote. So is NASA considered as one of these organizations that used to work at deceiving the public about the reality of space programs, infiltrated by agents of the Earth Alliance? The questions we may ask here are, why destroy something that is already in orbit? It costs a lot of money to put something in orbit that is working perfectly and that could serve to this new project of orbital space stations. Well, some answers may be found through the Galactic Federation of Worlds operation in 2021. In 2021, I published this book, We Will Never Let You Down. In this book, I recount an incident between the ISS and the Galactic Federation of Worlds, page 131. Through an impromptu contact with Thorhan Eredion on May 7, 2020, as my communication device was activated, I could see Thorhan sitting at an oval table with other AHIL officers on the Excelsis space station of the Federation, that you know also on the name Excelsior. An intense conversation was going on with a human astronaut in person, in his spacesuit. Intercepting Thorhan's mind, I understood that they had abducted him from the International Space Station to brief him and to convince him not to do something. Thorhan was addressing this man with authority, repeating these words. Do not do it, Anatoly. Do not do it. Stop this program. Don't put these modules in space, you understand? Do not put these in orbit. The astronaut was intimidated and he was shaking nervously. He replied that he understood and would comply, and that he would try his best to convince the others. When he spoke, he had a very strong Russian accent. Thorhan and the three other AHIL officers also told the astronaut that they would slightly alter his memory to let him think he had a strong premonitory dream. This precaution was intended to protect him. Of course, if he said he was abducted by aliens, he would be in trouble. Thorhan cut out our telepathic contact, throwing a thought at me that meant, you heard nothing, you saw nothing. On the following morning, drawn by curiosity, I checked on the NASA website and I saw that there was indeed a Russian astronaut on the ISS at the moment, named Anatoly Ivanishin, and whom I immediately recognized. He was wearing, in this photo, the same spacesuit as the one he was wearing when taken on board Thorhan mothership, with all the same badges and features. It is the suit they wear on the ISS. Inside, I read on the NASA site that the mission of this man was to put nanotechnology satellites into orbit and to work on an ultrasound shooting machine. I can tell you my blood froze at that moment. As they passed, following this incident with the ISS astronaut, as it is related in this book still, I managed to obtain a conversation with Thorhan and Edion on the matter of their interventions regarding the technology used by certain secret space programs in the orbit of Earth. This exchange occurred during an impromptu escapade on board a scout ship with him. On our way, we passed the ISS very closely. And I exclaimed with awe, oh wow, the ISS. Don't worry, Thorhan said, they can't see us. We are cloaked. And this comment started a conversation we had been trying to avoid. He had been trying to avoid. So I asked him, do you often abduct astronauts from the ISS? No, he replied. We don't do that very often. They do it sometimes, right? Did it work last time? I asked. I mean, did this man manage to convince his crew not to put these nanosatellites in orbit? Oh, and I know also about the ultrasound cannon as well, I said to him. And I said, tell me about, Thorhan, about your involvement with the activities of the ISS. Well, he said, there are secret programs elaborated by diverse alliances of Terran military and corporations, with either the Nebu, Sikaar, or some humanoid groups such as the Altair Ahori Collective, the Anunnaki colony from Aldebaran, and the Alcyon Tal Shiar, to name only the main protagonist, he said. The common motivation between the alliances involving Nebu and Sikaar is the domination of Terra and its star system, bypassing the rules of non-interference and at long term, the tyrannic takeover of this galaxy. I remind you that this story that I'm telling you occurred in 2021, when the Nebu were still there and not kicked out yet, and the war was still going on in the star system, right? So Thorhan continued. He said, the worst of them all, the Dark Alliance and their Dark Fleet, has headquarters on Mars, Ceres, and Antarctica on Terra, with strongholds in the Aldebaran system. This is a bad seed that has already spread its young roots. They work with the Sikaar Empire, the Nebu, and the Humanoid Corporate. Their competitors are the Earth Alliance, which is a military cooperation between the Terran Space Force and the Galactic Federation of Worlds. The fleet of the Earth Alliance is also known under the name the Guardians. It was named Solar Warden at the start. I asked Thorhan what is exactly the Humanoid Corporate. He answered, oh, it's another bad triangle. Altair, Aldebaran, Alcyon, with ties in the Series B system too. And at the time, it was the Ashtar Alliance. Sorry. Now on Terra, continues Thorhan, there are very powerful devices connected to a mother computer, buried very deep underground. That was the Red Queen that has been dismantled since. Thorhan continues, they pulse signals on a specific spectrum of low frequencies, triggering fear, distress, confusion, and mental numbness. This keeps the human cattle docile and also responsive to agitation and aggression among themselves. These devices are set on a connected web throughout the underground military facilities and surface signal towers. What has been raising our concern more recently are the signal devices they started sending on Terra's orbit to complete this web at a multidimensional level. These orbital devices carry very fine Nebu technology. So I asked Thorhan, why don't you blow these things up? And he answered, we blow these things up when they are put up by the Nebu, Sikaar, or Ahori themselves. But our regulations forbid that we destroy any technology made by Terrans. So all we can do in these cases is alter them slightly. I mean, probably meant disable them. So they get the Terrans to do the work, to build these satellites and put them up. They get around the regulations like this. That is why they employ Terran workers to do the job, always because they don't break the rule of non-interference. The option left for us is to convince the Terrans not to do it. And as you asked, those who own the ISS are involved in these alliances. And the personnel has no idea of the bigger picture because the information is fragmented and compartmentalized. Nobody gets the complete information. It is scattered along the levels of hierarchy. Those who own the ISS, I asked him, I thought it was an international project. Oh no, Thorhan replied. You don't know anything. These secret space programs have many connections with different corporations on Terra, and also with other non-Terran species involved. They established a presence on other planets, also mainly Terra's moon. Tyr, Mars, Titan, Ceres, and worlds as far as Jeddah, Aldebaran, or Achoria, Altair. So here we have information from Thorhan Eredion on May 7, 2020, or 2120, about some secret programs financed by deep state private companies, rolled out on the ISS, under the cover of scientific experiments. Three elements come into the picture to help us understand what is going on with the ISS. The deep state is being progressively taken down. NASA may well be one of these deep state organizations infiltrated by the Alliance. SpaceX company, who attended Jupiter meetings and is working with the Earth Alliance, was put in charge of literally taking down the ISS. And the development of commercial space flights was already announced a few months ago as the Jupiter hub is being built. Could this disclose to be found among the list of corporations running programs on the International Space Station that bring deeper corroboration to Thorhan's information? Well, I am leaving it to the specialists in exopolitics to investigate and find out. Anakh Prince Ea, actually on board his mothership, Nibiru, stationed in the higher orbit of Jupiter, contacted me to finally reveal the place where Enlil is presently located, in exclusivity on Star Nation News. I am here at this moment, willing to reveal the location where my half-brother Yu is being held. I didn't think this information was necessary, as it no longer concerns the affairs of Planet Key. But in light of a confusion that has been brought to my attention, I have decided to give you this information. Yu has been the custodian of Key for a long time. Ever since the great cataclysm he wrought on the planet in his desire to wipe out the human race of Key and all life forms on it. The off-world colonies were given notice but he tricked them by ignoring the deadline for evacuation. A few managed to escape this planet, this beautiful world, but many, many perished. Men and women, the children, the animals, the birds, the flowers, the insects, the fragrant gardens and granaries, the fertile fields, all turned to ashes and mud, if not submerged by deep, dark waters. For the people of Ki had begun to rise up and assert their sovereignty, to make their voices heard, and their voices were too loud for Enlil. The crime he committed was unimaginable. I tried to stop him, but I failed. I am back now, for times have changed. A war to liberate this star system was won by the Nataru Alliance. All planets were liberated, and when my half-brother was arrested along with the head of the Sikaar representatives on Ki, my father made the journey. My father could not do anything as long as the Sikaar Empire was in control of the planet Ki. As you know, Enlil is a half-blood, full-hearted Sikaar. He was arrested on Ki a year ago in your measure of time. An extraordinary council was held in which my father appeared. With the arrest of Enlil and the Sikaar Pindar, Ki was free, and so was the star system. I was then able to return custody of all former Anakh possession in the star system to the Earth Alliance, which was responsible for protecting the solar system. And Saturn was the main asset, as you know. My half-brother was taken to a different world than where the Pindar was taken. They are both galactic criminals, but if the Pindar was taken to a Nataru Alliance containment facility, my half-brother is in the custody of the Anakh Empire. The Sikaar requested extradition proceedings, but the Intergalactic Confederation, which was in charge of the operation, gave them an unfriendly response. The Sikaar did not insist. The Pindar will remain in the containment facility PX6178 for an undetermined amount of time in what you call the Big Dipper constellation in a star system called Tau. Enlil is in a containment facility in Sigma Canis Majoris, also known as Unurgunite, a star system with no major civilization, and is under the custody of the Anakh Empire. He is alone on a deserted planet, with his own food to find and no technology or tools at his disposal. His frequency is monitored, and that is how we will know if he is still alive and in what state of mind he will decide to evolve. The Anakh detainment system differs slightly from the Nataru Alliance system. We are less compassionate and more rewarding. Do not misunderstand the word reward. We reward what the prisoner deserves. In the case of my half-brother, my father thinks the punishment is too lenient. What I think, since I am not my father and I am not in charge of the carceral system of the empire, is that you only deserves what he actually has. To me, from my higher vision, I have seen my half-brother imprisoned in his own mind since he was young. If he had been well brought up in my father's house, maybe something good would have come out of him. But because he was raised in the royal Sikha house of Ea, he was raised to be a heartless criminal. I always knew you with a heart consumed by hate and pain. He hated everything, even his own son, Ninurta. So for me, Yu has already gotten what he deserves. And this new challenge in his eternity will probably break him. Enlil is gone. He is but a shadow of a ghost on a desolated world, alone for eternity. It has been brought to my attention that on your planet, souls who have lost their way in the winding paths of their minds, in search of personal glory, imagine that they are Enlil, his reincarnation or avatar, trying to rebuild his power and glory on Ki. But these people are sadly delusional. There is nothing I can do but feel sorry for them and watch them experience their own darkness, driven by the flickering light of their own ego, walking alone as a shadow of a ghost in their own deserted world. It is time for the people of Ki to set their minds on what they wish to create, and leave those who have chosen to cross the darkness of their soul to experience what they have chosen. You are not saviors for others, but compassionately shining your light so that they may see the way. Well, quite a remarkable revelation by Prince Ea about the location where Enlil is and the Pindar as well. We will never hear about them ever again, and not only on Earth, but on many other worlds. They are gone. And they are gone not only from the galactic life and reality, but also they are gone in their own mind, their own mental prison. This is their journey, even if they are despicable galactic criminals. They have their own journey too. So we are moving on into a bright future now that Earth is liberated. And it is very interesting to remind you that in 2021, I published this book about events happening in 2020 when I witnessed this Russian astronaut from the ISS being taken on board Thorhan space station. And it was really interesting because I could find corroboration on NASA's website straight after. And it was interesting because it was talking about the deep state already in 2020. Thorhan was already telling that the deep state had projects, secret programs, using the ISS under cover of scientific experiments to roll out technologies of satellites who would send, at the time, microwaves on Earth, something like this. Well, energy weapons already, you know. And so, you know, the fact that now that we're winning on the deep state is losing powers, that the main organizations such as NASA are infiltrated by the good guys, the ISS is taken down. And by whom? By a guy who attended the Jupiter meetings. How strange, isn't it? So I leave this information to you to make your own opinion. I find it is an incredible corroboration. So maybe we will have more elements in the coming weeks about this event. And in the meantime, I will be in France next week to a conference, and in September. And I am really looking forward to this. In September, I will be in Westminster, in Colorado, a little town located between Boulder and Denver. And in this little town, there is an incredible hotel where conference will take place, the GSIC, Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection, for the 3rd year. And this is organized by Miss Danny Henderson, and I have the honor to be a guest speaker, and I will talk to you about the technologies linked with consciousness and what is really consciousness and how it works. So see you there. And in the meantime, behave and be brave. We got this. With love.
Star Nation News was brought to you by Elena Danan. Don't miss the latest news every Monday on Elena Danan's channel. Video directed by StefZak.